Hey there folks, another battle report from Blue Label Bastard Wargaming, and for this one I wanted to give an intro because due again to some technical difficulties, we had some problems with some of the footage from an earlier bat rep that's kind of set the scene for this one. And so I want to give you a little bit of background, kind of unusual point size, at least for what I typically see for the internet. But my buddy and I picked 1,250 point lists for two reasons. One, it's easier to get multiple games in. I find with the bigger lists, it's pretty much you get one game in a day, at least at the rate that I play. Also, I have a tournament coming up in a couple months, and it's going to be a doubles tournament, and surprise, surprise, 1,250 points. So putting those two things together, we decided to kind of cram in two games. And that's why you see some of the, I think the choices. Bretonnians are a lot more straightforward because you don't have that many options that are anywhere close to being competitive. I'm not uber competitive, but you kind of have to milk the army book for as much as you can because of the extreme age of the army as it currently stands. So we decided not to do anything too special in terms of the board. For your information, the first game we ended up just doing battle line, and I'm going to describe the board a little bit. You're going to see it in the video, but all I basically did was put out my kind of chaos waste dark terrain, and I sprinkled a lot of random terrain pieces on there just to kind of play some games with the movement. Our armies were small enough that nobody's going to have any, giant hordes. In fact, it will affect me more than it will him. Anyways, the first game, which I lost the footage for, which I'm not pleased at all about. Kodak, your camera sucks. So that one, I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but essentially the Bretonnians were pretty much out of the game by the end of turn 2. A combination of his lords and heroes rolling like bosses. And incidentally, as an aside, I say roll like a boss more times than I can count in this bat rep, and I don't know why. I should do a counter in the corner. So I apologize for that. But anyways, so the first game went down fairly quickly. So if you hear me in the narration of this actual battle report complaining a lot about his vampire hero, I rolled armor saves. I don't think I made maybe any that first game, and that's why you'll see I had a rather large Knight of the Realm unit, and I think probably out of 6 wounds his vampire hero did, I might have made 1 armor save and ward save. So that game ended fairly quickly. So this one, I tweaked the list a little bit because it's a test for me, because I have kind of a choice of, do I want to go magic heavy? Do I want to go combat heavy? I like going more magic, but in 1,250 points, there's just not a whole lot you can do. So with that, we decided to do the second game, and we did Battle for the Pass, which is why we're playing off on opposite table, or the short board edges. You'll see on the board Throne of Skulls. It didn't play a factor in terms of terrain other than serving as a hill, and then on my opponent's side there was Arcane Ruins, which did play a role the previous game where I was crushed. Won't really play a role in this one, but I just wanted to kind of explain the table to you. All those pieces of terrain out there are dangerous terrain, and I might be getting my 40k confused with my fantasy, but basically you take a dangerous terrain test if you go through it. So that's essentially it, and let's now look at our 2 army lists. Okay, from my army list, 1,250 points. Actually, it was 1,249 points. So as I said, I wanted to go a little bit magic heavy and try Lore of Heavens. I've seen some good things on that. I want to try a little bit of board control with Common of Casandora, and then Harmonic Convergence. So, level 4, Crown of Command, which I didn't end up using, I completely forgot about. Dispel Scroll, which I did use, and then Lore of Heavens. So pretty well bare bones, but ate up a good chunk of my Lord points. The obligatory BSB Paladin with the Warrior Bane Sword, I just wanted something cheap. Magic weapon-wise, in case he came with a lot of ethereal stuff, and then the typical Enchanted Shield and Dawnstone, because BSBs can't take regular shields. Core was 11 Knights of the Realm, full command Flaming Banner, and the BSB is going to go in there. And then the other part of the core were 9 Knights Errant, full command Errantry Banner. And in the previous game, I had a little bit bigger Knight of the Realm block, and then I had taken 3 Pegasus Knights with just a musician, and he did a couple wounds to one of them, and they fled off the board. So I'm sick and tired of that. I think at least my luck has been if you don't take at least 5 or 5, so if you lose a Pegasus Knight, it doesn't cause a panic check, because I always fail. I decided to go with the Knights Errant just for kind of, I wouldn't say throwaway, but they can go chaff hunting and stuff. And then for, so nothing in the special then, and then I just wanted to have something with a bit of extra hitting power and magical attack, so I took a small unit of 5 Grail Knights, full command, couldn't afford a banner, was already at my rare limits, I think within half a point or so. When you added that in with the Trebuchet, the Prophetess went in with the Grail Knights. And so that is my army list. Let's look at the vampire counts now. Alright, for my opponent's vampire count list, he did not change things between the 2 battles. I think he wanted to, but both he and I are kind of new to our armies, and he doesn't have access to the full range of models, so he's kind of playing with what he had. That being said, his lord, well, he wanted to try out the Strigoi Ghoul King, so he went with the Sword of Anti-Heroes, which actually proved fairly effective, I would say. And then the other Trickster Shard, which made me reroll all of my Blessing saves, which I think was a good use of points for that. He also had 2 hero choices. One was a level 2 Necromancer, Lore of Vampires, the Talisman of Endurance, and that went in one of his skeleton blocks. And then he had a mounted Vampire, level 1 Lore of Vampires, Barded Nightmare, Heavy Armor, Lance, and Quick Blood. That tore through my Knight of the Realm block the first game. The second game, he kind of fluffed, and it evaporated. And so then for core, he had 7 Dire Wolves, I guess with a champion. And then 2 blocks of Skeleton Warriors, one with 40, one with 36. Again, the Strigoi Ghoul King, I think, went in the larger block, and the Necromancer in the smaller. I could be wrong with that. Both had champ and standard. And then he had 5 Black Knights with Barding Lance and a +1 movement banner. And that is my opponent's list. And now let's go on to the video with deployment. Okay, so this is my deployment. My camera has now gone belly up for the second time after trying to do the Chaos Dwarf video yesterday. So I'm going to try this on my iPad. So the first thing, in terms of my army deployment, I did change up my list to a certain degree, but I still have the Grail Knights, 5 of them with my level 4 Prophetess. I dropped the crappy Pegasus Knights for 9 Knights Errant, Trebuchet, and then shrunk down to 11 Knights of the Realm with the BSB. And then for my opponent's side, he has already vanguarded up his Direwolves. He has his block here of skeletons with the Strigoi Ghoul King. The other block of skeletons with his level 2 Necromancer. And then the Jerk of a Vampire Hero with the Black Knights over here. And we'll be right back for Magic. Bretonnian Magic phase. I got Ice Shard Blizzard. I got Curse the Midnight Wind, but I turned it for the basic spell. Uranon's Thunderbolt, Wind Blast, and Comet of Cassandora. I was really hoping for Harmonic Convergence, but it didn't come. But we'll see, this is a much shootier mix, and maybe I could do some board control with the Wind Blast. I also dropped the Ruby Ring of Ruin. Didn't use it last time, so a little bit more points. My opponent got
Invocation of Neheg for Invocation of Neheg for the Ghoul King. The Necromancer gets Invocation of Neheg and Curse of Years, and the Vampire Hero gets Van Hells.
Okay, and so we're going to be back at the bottom of turn 1, which is going to be vampire counts because I have to pray. Okay, end of vampire counts turn 1.
Tour de force.
Really quick, these guys moved up, turned a little bit. For some redirection probably. Just some movement, no shooting, magic phase, low 5 dice, I think. Low. So the only thing he got off, because his other spells, Curse of Years is 18 inches, he cast Van Hells on the Black Knights over there. I tried to dispel with my 3 dice, didn't do it. Or whatever, however many dice I had, so it got through and he shuffled these guys up a little bit more. No combat. So that is the end of Vampire Counts turn 1. Okay, boys, let's do a little better than we did last time. The end of Bretonnia turn 1. A little bit better this time, well, at least in certain parts of the phase. So movement, I had none. The Knights Errant block failed their charge on the Direwolves, which I was kind of okay with. Came in, crushed them, did take a wound because my opponent's rolling like a stud again. But they're off the board, reformed, and set up for a decent flank charge eventually. Shooting, Trebuchet missed. Magic didn't even make the casting total to get off Combat of Cassandora. Rolled an 11, needed a 12, so that was the end of that. So better than previous turns, and there's a casualty there. But so I cleared out the chaff, and now we have to deal with his combat blocks, and that is no mean feat. And I don't like how I'm divided in the middle of the field. So we're going to have to see what he does here. So on to Vampire Counts turn 2. Right, top of top of turn 2, end of Vampire Counts turn 2. So I guess it's the bottom of turn 2. I'll get this right someday. Not really much per se. He failed a charge over here with his Black Knights into my Errant bus. He turned over here in the magic phase. He got off Van Hell's Dance Macabre on that unit. I only had 3 dice. Oh, the magic phase was 4 dice. I got 3. But couldn't get past Van Hell's, so I'm a little nervous about that unit over there, because I think they're going to have to charge, and he's going to get the rerolls. I wasn't worried about the movement. In fact, it just makes my job easier, but we're going to see, because I think these guys want revenge after the thumping they took last time from that vampire count.
The undead remember.
The undead remember. They always remember. So that is essentially the end of Vampire Counts turn 2. On to Bretonnians. Alright, bottom of Bretonnia turn 2, and when the Knights are working, the Knights are working. So, Magic, my turn, I got off, charges. No charges, we held back here, the Errant Knights made their restrain roll, and so I just backed them up, because I'm worried about this guy trekking up. The charge over here took place. I went into the Black Knights of the Vampire Lord, and remembering the distant past, or the near past, I guess, the last defeat they suffered, we charged in, and I don't think I'm giving away any secrets because the unit's not there. We crushed the unit and popped the vampire out of combat res. But first, magic. We got off Comet of Cassandora, which is some nice board control. So that's sitting there, 1 marker. Shooting was crap again. We misfired, but again rolled a misfire such that we can't shoot this turn. We can shoot next turn. So things I think are looking much better for the Bretonnians this turn. Like many other people have said, when they're working, they're working, and when they're not, it's like the last game where you get crushed quickly. So I think I've suffered 2 Knights so far. And so he has a decision to make which way to go, and then he has to watch out for the comet. So on to Vampire Counts turn 3. Okay, Vampire Counts turn 3. I don't know if it was the best turn for my compatriot here. So he just moved up. He didn't charge, because he's only got the 2 combat blocks left. Magic phase, he rolled pretty well. You got an 8.
Yeah, 8 dice.
So you had 2 dice left after this, right?
Yeah, but I couldn't cast it.
Okay, so you had 8 dice. So no charges. Movement just moved up. He moved right in range of the comet, so we'll see what happens Bretonnian turn. But then he traded 8 dice Curse of Years on the Knights of the Realm block, which I wasn't really thinking he would do, and it caused me a little bit of angst. But so we threw 6 at it, and it didn't go off, and so I dispel scrolled it, because I dropped the Silver Mirror out. So that was the end of the magic phase. 2 dice he can't regrow anything, so that's it. So I'm not sure if that's what he wanted out of this phase or not, but we're going to see what the Bretonnians do at the bottom of turn 3. Alright, end of Bretonnians turn 3. On the whole, it went okay. Actually, no, it didn't. I didn't accomplish what I wanted to. So, declared charges, 2 charges into the general's unit here. Successfully made it. And I didn't charge over here. I maneuvered my errant knights around the back. Dangerous terrain test, didn't kill anybody off from 6-up ward save, which is pretty nice. Magic was a dud because I rolled pretty well. I think we had like 7 or 8 dice. I had 7 dice and tried to cast Ice Shard Blizzard on that unit there and rolled 2 dice and rolled a double 1. So that was the end of the magic phase. And I really kind of need to buff my guys a little bit. And like an idiot, speaking of the magic phase, I completely forgot about the comet. And so I charged in thinking I was going to have to charge one point or the other. The comet did not come down, fortunately, but moving on. Oh, and shooting the trebuchet finally clipped these guys over here. He made a lookout sir on his necromancer though, and so just killed some skeletons. So the comet didn't come down. And in combat, I think I did reasonably well. I won combat by 8.
Yeah.
And I put a wound on his general, but now I'm going to rubber lance. And I'm worried about the comet coming down on his magic phase, which could do some damage. So hopefully the lady will look past my ignorance and not super well thought out strategies and not come down this turn, or else I have to break him. So on to Vampire Counts turn 4. Alright, so that was Vampire Counts turn 4. And there's a little bit more of a hole in the Bretonnian lines as the dreaded rubber lance syndrome happened. Your magic phase, did you get...
10 dice.
Oh, that's right, you had 10 dice and I had 5 or 6 because he's been channeling like a boss. And the first thing I tried to do was Curse of Years. Didn't go off. No, I dispelled it.
Yeah.
And then he rolled Invocation of the Heck and Miscast and blew a bunch of his units up and mulched I took a couple of Grail Knight hits, but his general saved and was not sucked into the warp. And then he got some back the next time around because I threw all my dice at Curse of Years on my Knight of the Realm bus. Combat, the Strigoi who kind of fluffed last time didn't this time and mulched the Grail Knights.
Errant Knights.
The Errant Knights?
Yeah, mostly Errant Knights this time. The Grail Knights were all gone from the miscast.
Yeah, they did that, and then I failed saves like a boss again too. So, just didn't do enough damage. We fled from the largest unit. And so hopefully it is now going to be Bretonnian turn 4. Hopefully I can rally. And I guess the silver lining is if the comet comes down, it's going to crush him. So we're going to go on to Bretonnia turn 4 and see if the lady's shining on me and throws a comet my way. So, see you in a bit. Hey, the lady is smiling on the bottom of turn 4 with the Bretonnians. Rallied the general, who then allowed to rally the fleeing errant knights. Magic. Oh, I guess we should actually attempt to cast a magic phase, which we haven't done yet. We're just going to go ahead and skip that because I don't want to... Oh, I guess you can't cast when you rally, right?
Yeah, I suppose not.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and skip that. If we're wrong, go ahead and let us know in the comments.
The comet came down.
The comet came down, and you'll note that I didn't charge in because I wanted to see if the comet was going to come down. The comet did come down, and it did not an incredible amount of damage. It definitely hit the general's unit more than the other one, but it did a fair bit. I'll take whatever I can get at this point. So we're trying to hustle because I got to get my friend home. So we're going to go into Vampire Counts turn 5. Vampire. Oh, did you want to move? Oh, you failed charges. Sorry. I'm not making fun of him. Vampire Counts turn 5. Charges. He attempted 2 charges on the Knights of the Realm over there.
Needed boxcars.
Needed boxcars for both. Failed both. Stumbled forward. Magic. He threw a bunch of dice at Curse of Years.
Curse of Years.
Miscast, like a boss. So went off on them. So we resolved the spell. Not a 6 was rolled. So I'm going to have to deal with that next turn, although the game's getting close enough I might just risk it. We'll see what kind of magic phase I get. Lately it's been pretty bad. And then I blocked 1 Nehek, forgetting that he cast it again, so he regrew some of the guys that he lost from the miscast. So he's got 2 pretty depleted units and a general on 1 wound left. So we're going to go to the bottom of turn 5.
When you say it like that, it sounds so bad.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for. So we're going to see what we can do, kind of if we can knock this off here. So on to Bretonnia Turn 5. Okay, so Bretonnian Turn 5, we've decided to call the game. It was a close run thing, I think. So declared charges didn't. The prophetess didn't go in, but the errants did into the back of the general's unit, and the Knights of the Realm failed to charge, which by about 3/4 of an inch to an inch. So that would have, I think, spelled the end clearly for that unit, and I would have got the general. Here, we did that many wounds. He didn't do any wounds to me. He lost by a lot. In Magic, I got off Ice Shard, Blizzard, and Miscast doing it. And took a wound on my general, but she survived. So that's it. So we're going to call the game here. Bretonnian victory. I think had we kept playing, he would have probably lost his lord, and then the other unit would have started to crumble, and that's pretty much it. So I think I've just got a lot more on the board. So in terms of what remains, I have almost my full Knight of the Realm, a good chunk of my Knights Errant. So the only thing that I lost were my Grail Knights, and he lost his unit of skeletons, the Black Knights earlier on, a good chunk of another unit of skeletons, but they count, and he kept 2 of his 3 characters. So I think it's probably a Bretonnian win, although not an overwhelming one. So good game, much better this time for the Bretonnians, but even then they still look for ways to lose. So thanks to my opponent, and hopefully we'll see you when I wrap up the back wrap in a little bit. All right, parting thoughts on the battle. I will offer some here, and obviously my opponent and I talked about this afterward, and I think the first game I got crushed, and it comes as no surprise. I said this in the battle report during the filming as well. Bretonnians either win big or they lose big, and that was an example of this here. You can't see the previous battle, and it, to be honest, is becoming fuzzy with me. But this one, I think that with the exception of the charge into the Comet of Cassandora, which I think I should have almost deserved to lose for making such a boneheaded move, I'm getting the hang of using Bretonnians' movement. My other armies are Warriors of Chaos, which have some kind of a mix of quick and slow-moving troops, but they're mostly slow, and then Chaos Dwarves, which are very slow. And definitely, I think, getting the hang of using my Bretonnians' movement and kind of setting up the right charges. That being said, you could set up the perfect charge. The same thing happened with me in my Beastman Bat Rep that I posted a couple weeks ago. You can set up the perfect charges, get them right where you want them, and you can still miss a charge or just flub your attacks because Bretonnian stat lines aren't incredibly stellar. I guess they're okay for humans. I'm used to Warriors of Chaos. Particularly going against vampire counts, I think this is a tough matchup for the Bretonnians, even though I would say my opponent didn't bring a killer list, just because you're not going to be able to break anything on the charge unless you evaporate the entire unit. And then if you don't do that, then you have to deal with rubber lands. My first game, I should have just targeted his Strigoi Ghoul King. This game I tried to, and I just didn't get the attacks through. So I got stuck, and you'll see where you saw where my Knights Errant and Grail Knights just broke because they couldn't do enough damage. So I'm still kind of finessing, getting used to being very calculating about how I play this list, how I play Bretonnians, whereas Warriors of Chaos, you can think of be a little bit sloppier, just like throw all of your bazillion attacks against a unit and for the win. These guys, even with, you know, the skeleton blocks, you just can't kill enough. So that's kind of overall, I was generally pleased, but you can see in there that there's still chances where I came really close to losing the game. So Bretonnians, surprise, surprise, are a very unforgiving army. In terms of magic, I think Heavens is good. I like Heavens more than Life, only that Life, if you don't get Throne of Vines or some of the other spells that you really want, I don't think it's as good. I liked for board control. I think Bretonnians need as much long-range strike ability as possible, given how terribly my Trebuchet did this game. Basically did nothing. And I understand why people say to take 2, just with 1,250 points. Between the Grail Knights, you can only get in 1 Trebuchet. And I don't know that I'm going to drop the Grail Knights, because it is nice to have something that's immune to psychology and has magical attacks for facing those vampires, or facing ethereal stuff. Now, if I go up against Baron of the World Dragon, I'll be in trouble. Excuse me, but I think that's just risk I'm going to have to take. So that was magic, combat, shooting. I was disappointed. I didn't bring archers because normally they don't do that much. I was going to bring archers just with the braziers to peel away a regen save, but so much of the good stuff for the Bretonnians is already in core that I'd rather have 2 lances than spend 100 and whatever points on archers that only are ballistic skill 3. So I think for the most part that worked well for me. My opponent, and he can feel free to chime in on the comments if he'd like, but what I remember him saying, I mean, obviously he didn't have the optimum choices. I think vampire counts, you kind of need to be above like 1,500 points to kind of cram in a lot of the good stuff. He did have Hex Wraiths. I talked to him about putting those in. He was worried about them not being able to march. I think if he would have had it to do over again, the Dire Wolves didn't really work for him in either game. I think he was surprised that in the game that you saw here, I charged in the Errant Knights. It was a long charge into that unit, and they kind of disappeared quickly both games. He didn't say much that I remember about magic. I just think a lot of the really powerful combinations in the Vampire Counts list, and granted he and I are kind of new players to both of these armies, so, and we're going to play relatively fun lists anyways. I mean, we were both in it to win, but before commenting and saying, oh, you guys, you know, don't know how to put lists together, we're playing with what we had, and but even that being said, I think his magic worked. I was scared of his magic. Whether he felt like he got to buff enough stuff, I'll leave that to him. He had some really bad luck with miscasts, which, while his Lord or casters didn't evaporate by any means, there was there's at least one calamitous detonation on both sides, and both of us escaped without losing our casters. But so in sum, selfishly for my purposes, I think it does kind of validate the list. Whenever you're doing a doubles tournament, it's a bit tough to, I mean, do you go like just super specific, load up on big lances? Do you specialize in one area, hard hitting? Do you go anti-magic? This list, my vulnerability is I don't have anything with heroic killing blow. I don't have a combat character. My VSB is purely defensive, just try to keep it around, and it's in there because I have to take it. So I think selfishly this kind of validated my list. I'll probably be posting a video talking more about it, so listing some thoughts and ideas. For my opponent, I don't think he would choose this list because I don't think we would choose 1,250 points normally, although it was nice to get in 2 games, even if I was destroyed in one of them, and it was pretty close in the second one. So again, folks, thanks for watching. If you stuck with it this long, please comment, like, and subscribe if you're so inclined, and happy wargaming.